advertising that works, call M Media. Hello, I'm Jim Emmerling, Jimmer Jab, and welcome to Beat EM Bucs, a show about everything Pittsburgh Pirates. Today's venue is commonly known to my tribe as my downtown office, the PAC, the Polish Athletic Club on 7th Street in Steubenville. Plenty of sports discussions have been taking place in this place over the years. You know, most cities have a watering hole, civic club, where folks gather to tell stories, talk sports, and raise money for community events. The PAC is my place. Today, I'm not even going to apologize for ranting before I introduce my guests. I'm beyond disgusted. The radio stations are crushing it with, it's just so bad. Oh my God, and let's talk about this. The Sunday scheme game against the Phillies, that put me and probably all you Pirate fans over the edge. 15-33 as of May 20th. And Ben Cherington is still here. What has he done in his 6 years? He's about talent acquisition and development, and he's beyond terrible. My question is he going to be drafting for us again this year? Section 117, all my friends, it's turned into a social club. It's not about watching competitive baseball. It's turned into a comedy show where we just laugh about what we see. And in between, we have a little small talk about our daily lives. What have we become? My guest today is my good friend, Steubenville Catholic Central graduate, where he excelled in many sports, OU standout baseball player, that'd be Ohio University, where he started for 4 years, and a 17-plus year college coaching career, 11 at the D1 level, highlighted by being the youngest D1 manager ever at the age of 31 for Youngstown State. He's been an educator, a counselor, a community relations director, but what I'm most proud of, he's a motivator. And the fact that his father's one of my closest friends, even though he's a lot more in my age group than his dad. Our guest today is Mike Florak. Michael, we've been and seen a lot over the years.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for having me, and looking forward to our discussion here, Jim.
Well, I figure you're one of the best baseball minds that I've had in my life, at least here in the Steubenville area. I mean, we got Rich Donley and the Goulin boy. We've got Paul Hoover. We have some, but probably you have as many years in that game as everybody.
Well, it's been a great tradition of Steubenville baseball here, and I was just blessed to be a part of that. And yes, there are some great guys that were involved in baseball from throughout the years, and we all come from the Ange Vaccaro tree somewhere.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. That's what we all take. We all still take
producer
a lot of
today.
pride
She's
in.
a Stubby Ewer, and that's Vaccaro Field.
Yes, sir. That's we all love that place. We all love that program. Steubenville's a great football town, but there's been a lot of great baseball that's been played back here. We're proud to represent that.
Well, I am excited. It's kind of ironic that we're gathering in your dad and I's watering hole.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I can tell you, if these walls could talk, the stories. I was talking to Danny Zapolnik. Now, those at the Polish club know there's Zapolniks and there's Humenis, and there's about 1,000 of them, so I screw the names up. But anyway, yesterday I was having a conversation with Danny, and he was saying Stan Musial was here. We gave him an award. And just, Danny Abramovich, he's actually, sure. I think, still a member. But, it's a Polish athletic club, but it's it's all sports. I mean, and these people are. I remember when I moved here in '84, and I used to think the Whitfield was like the mecca of sport.
Yeah.
Then I move here, and there's
OVAC.
there's 10,000 people at a high school football game.
Yes.
I thought, man, you people are crazy.
Yes.
Yeah. So we've.
It was quite an atmosphere growing up here, and it was something that I'll never forget. Being able to play we played our football at Harding Stadium, our baseball at Vaquero Field, and our basketball at St. John Arena, and there would be thousands of people there. So it was something that you never forget as a kid, and the importance of it is what we still, and we talk about it today, is just, wow, you remember all the fanfare and all the excitement about the build up to the games and that kind of thing. And Catholic Central makes their basketball run, as did my former teammate and classmate Mike Haney. Big Red's basketball run this year to the regionals, and that brought back a lot of great memories.
You had a
for
couple.
all of
You
us
had a couple
guys.
of your buddies from OU come up and saw you at that game, didn't you?
We did, and there was a lot of reminiscing going on, and that was a great group that we had with some of the guys that were a class above Mike Haney and me, with Rocky Bragg, who played for the Wheeling Thunderbirds as a 6'6" goalie, and then of course John Butchergross from ESPN, Chris Paschke, Don Goodpasture.
You know, I didn't put John in my notes, but we definitely got to give Butch a shout out.
We'll get him down.
He's probably one of our favorite sons.
Oh, he's the best.
Yeah.
We're still good friends to this day.
Well, let me ask you. We'll shift gears about. We'll bounce back and forth, but what can our squad do? I mean, don't hold back.
Well, it's good to see that Don Kelly's getting an opportunity. Okay, and I listened to Jim Leland when they had won the fan.
Right.
Immediately after Don was hired, and he said the good thing is that Don, being a former major leaguer,
and a Pittsburgher.
Yes, he will have to lose the players' respect. Whereas a guy who didn't play in the big leagues, the previous manager, he had to earn it. And Jim Leland said the same thing about, in all humility, and you know how Jim is, he's such a great, humble man.
But he didn't play.
He said, I wasn't a major leaguer.
Yeah.
So I had to earn the players' respect. And I think that's a good starting point on the field, is where they need to change a lot. There's some talent there, but the way it's getting brought to the forefront, it hasn't been healthy. And it's been obviously very, very disappointing, and something's got to change. That's a good start. Don Kelly's a good start.
Well, you sometimes sit in 117. That's the best section in
116. I'm right over. I'm in the next aisle.
in the stadium.
Yeah.
But it's tough. I'll be going up tonight. Day game tomorrow. I love when they say where there's 9,000 paid. I can literally sit in my seat and count the number of people in that stadium.
Yes,
it's heartbreaking.
Of all the things that have happened in the recent years and the disappointments, that's the most alarming thing to me, is the lack of the butts in the seats. Yeah. And I just really hope they somehow get it turned around, or just get a little bit better this year, so they don't totally lose the whole fan base.
Well, look at the farm system. All right. I mean, again, I'm preaching about Charrington got to go, and he has to go. But our AAA, anybody we bring up, they send back down. They don't stay, other than the pitching. Well, I mean, where is our talent?
This is just my opinion from what I've seen. I watched some of the Indianapolis Indians.
Right.
And the Pirates have some arms down there. There's no
they
doubt about it.
They definitely have arms. There's no question.
You got Barco coming up. Wait till people see him. Bubba Chandler.
Hopefully he's not hurt, though.
Well, I think he'll be okay. Jared Jones obviously is going to have to sit for a while now, which is very disappointing. But when you look at the position players, there's nobody who jumps out at you as far as somebody who's going to make an offensive impact. And that's the thing that's been concerning. And this dates back to the last administration. Because
the last 3 years of that administration.
Yes, because we've had one guy, in my opinion, since Barry Bonds and Bobby Bonilla, that could strike fear into a pitcher's mind and say, it's 3 guys till that guy gets up. It's 2 guys till that guy gets up. It's one guy till this guy gets. I can't make mistakes with all the other guys. I'm gonna tell you who that was. In my opinion, was Pedro Alvarez, because he could hit one into the middle of the river. And when that happens, when your big guy does that, it takes the absolute life out of the other dugout. And there's something that changes instantaneously in the ballpark.
Well, his last year here, or the next to the last,
he hit 35 home runs.
He led the league.
Yeah, he hit 35 home runs, 100-some RBIs. Now, he strikes out a lot, but guess what?
Everybody does.
When you hit home runs, you strike out a lot, right? And Babe Ruth didn't care about that. Reggie Jackson didn't care about that. They started to try to make
Willie
him
struck
care.
out 2 out of 4.
Yeah, well, they started to try to make him care about that,
Right.
and then it got in his head defensively about his throwing, and the next thing you know, they couldn't even fit the guy at first base. Yeah. So there's been some
history of
disappointing
not
things
developing,
not developing players is where it's really come back, I think, to bite them a lot, and you just wonder, at the major league level, who's going to be their coaching staff?
Quickly on this. Would you implode this, or would you do what I suggested? And that being, you got the arms. I mean, that's the hardest thing to build on a team.
Yeah.
If we score 4 runs or more, we win probably
Right.
8 of those games.
Right. And they haven't scored 4 runs in 24 games?
24,
or
25, 26. I know it's a record,
Yeah.
but I don't want to implode this because I think we have a few pieces on the field and good pitching.
So here's the thing. Everyone wants to criticize Bob Nutting, okay? Well, if you go back to 13, 14, and 15 when they made their little mini run under Clint Hurdle, who I think was a very underrated manager.
Yeah.
I really like Clint. They went out when they had a chance to win. They went out and got Marlon Byrd. They went out and got Justin Morneau. They went out and got Clint Barmas, A.J. Happ, which was a mistake. They didn't bring him back because he won 39 games the next 2 years for the Blue Jays. All he was asking for was $12 million.
Yeah.
And then they, also a couple of the other guys, A.J. Burnett.
Well,
So
AJ
when they
and
had a chance to
Lariano,
win,
I mean, they hit right
Yes.
on those two.
Yeah. Well, when they had a chance to win, Bob Nutting went out and spent the money. Okay.
Or I say his father did.
Maybe his father did. Okay. Whoever it was, they brought some guys in that could help them win. Now they have to get to that place where they're knocking on the door, and they haven't been close enough to get there. And I think the thing that's been lacking is just the offensive output. And
It's the Alligators. That's 18 whatever it was. That's how bad this offense is.
Right. And I know that Derek Shelton's record was record
Abysmal.
for him,
Yeah.
as bad as it ever was.
Right.
One of the worst tenures in Major League Baseball history. But something needed to change a little bit quicker, in my estimation, and it goes back to their player development. They've invested a lot of money in their
Supposedly the Dominican.
Yes,
And
and
supposedly.
I think that's where that's gone wrong, because there's enough good players here that have been missed that they haven't drafted. God, I feel bad for Henry Davis. He looks like he's a hard worker and that kind of stuff. But you go 1-1 overall, you got to hit on that. They hit on 1 out of 2. They had 2 1-1s in a row,
Right.
and you got to hit on that. But
I mean, I understand what they were doing that year and trying to get multiple picks, and that is the year they got Chandler.
Right.
So there is a little bit of that, but Davis was unfortunately a complete flop to date.
yeah,
And he looks like a ball player.
well,
but-
he does, and he's got the mentality, but that's where the coaching and the player development comes in. Okay, so where is that happening? And I just don't understand, how these guys are so lauded before they
Yeah.
get to the
Well, I
organization.
always believe, and I've said this the last few weeks, that I believe, Bob, your circle of influence is not where it needs to be. You need to expand it a tad, because whoever that is now, it's not working. And I truly believe that.
The other thing is, look at the arms that are spread throughout the major leagues in the last several years that the Pirates had and didn't really get much for.
right.
You're
Right.
talking about Tyler Glass now.
Right.
Okay, you're talking about Charlie Morton. Did you know Charlie Morton could throw 98 miles an hour?
couldn't
I
either.
didn't.
Yeah.
You know why? Because
They didn't let him.
philosophically, they're telling him to hit corners on or out
Charlie
of 3
was-
pitches. That's a mistake.
He was one of my favorites.
Tyler Glass now with a guy throwing
Ground
99
chuck.
that's 6'8".
Yeah, but now
The ball's on top of you before you can even, blink. And they just tell those guys, Garrett
Right.
Cole, don't hit corners. throw your fastball down the middle and see if somebody can hit it.
Well,
That's
you know,
old school
it's funny. Your
baseball,
dad and I talked
and the
about.
analytics are hurting.
We talked a little about Paul Skeens, and obviously we love Paul Skeens.
Absolutely.
To which I think, Bob, I got a recommendation from my son that you might want to make him part owner, and then maybe you can keep him. How's that?
Great idea.
How's that for a thought? Anyway.
Should we put him behind the plate? 'Cause he can hit.
If I'm him, I want to hit.
He could hit when he was
right.
in college.
Yeah,
You know?
But I think he has too many pitches. I mean, he's been great, but he hasn't been superior. And your dad and I talked about this. I think, and he's good at all 8 of them, but I think it's too many.
Well, when you're young like that and you're trying to develop different facets of your game, there's going to be a little bit of a sideways shift when you're trying to add things to your game. And I think that's what's going on now, because I think in his mind he understands, you know, I want to do this until I'm 40-something years old.
Yeah,
I better have these pitches in my arsenal now before I have to learn a knuckleball when I'm 37, when I'm only throwing 92.
Right.
That's just my opinion.
Sunday killed me. He was breaking 100 for the first time this year.
Yeah, he's a different animal. You should see the way that he prepares for a
I mean,
start.
if you could
He's an unbelievable person.
get him vested,
Yeah.
and let him be the leader. We talked about
That's
that
it.
a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
We don't have a true leader. He seems to be that. He could be that person.
Military guy, physically big in stature, performs unbelievably. He's got everything written, stamped on his forehead that this is your guy. Now you have to get everybody else to hitch their wagon to him.
Right.
And where are those guys? You know, and I'm encouraged by Andrew McCutcheon, you know, still being there and being able to say that. And his relationship, I'm sure, with Don Kelly is going to help that. But we still need some more. Offensively, they need so much more.
Teague told me they need 3 to 4 to 5.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
I mean, they need a lot.
Well, there's no doubt.
Well,
and those injuries hurt a little bit.
No, I know. Everybody has them.
Yeah.
Well, part of this show is about baseball, and it's also about life. And one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, because knowing you since you were, I guess when I moved here,
St.
you
Pius
were,
guys.
yeah,
We're
but
St. Pius
you
guys.
probably a senior when I moved here, 84.
I was junior in high school.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's what I figured. Well, I followed your career through OU. Now, there's a rumor that I think you might have broke Mike Schmidt's home run record at OU. Is that true?
No, that's not true. Chased it like many of us other Bobcats did, but I fell a couple short, 2 or 3 short. I don't remember.
Yeah, well, to start at a D1 team for 4 straight years, and I forgot that you did get drafted by the Mariners, didn't you? That's what I thought. But your life took a twisted turn.
Yeah.
You and I don't talk about that much, but I think the viewers can. I want you to speak a little bit about adversity and
Sure.
what that all meant.
Well, when I was going back to my junior year, you know, and talk about changing things. My sophomore year, I started trying to hit more home runs. I went to like the Darrell Evans type of stance, got up on the plate, was trying to jerk everything down the right field line. And I didn't like being that kind of a player. You know, I didn't like striking out a lot, and I was more like a gaps guy that, you know, would be consistent, be able to drive runs in. And, so I tried to get back on track my junior year, and I started. I had a real good start to my junior year. I was hitting about 380 something halfway through the season, 6 or 7 home runs, something like that. And then we were going to Ball State one midday game, and I just felt sick. You know, I just got real sick. And my roommate was our catcher, and he was joking because I wouldn't come out with a bat. So this kind of went on and off for the next year, and I looked up, and I'd gone from about 230 pounds down to about 199 by the time I was a senior. So I struggled through my senior year, and then about 6 weeks after the senior year was finished, I had searing pain in the left side of my abdomen. I was going to the bathroom about 15 times a day, blood, you know, all that kind of stuff. Got me to the hospital. What ensued was a diagnosis of Crohn's disease. So it was just awful. You know, turned my life upside down. And I had 4 flare-ups where I lost 60 pounds or more, gained it all back. 4 other flare-ups where I lost 40 pounds or more and gained it all back. And, you know, I literally had to live my life by that old Asian mantra, fall 7 times, rise 8. I literally had to get back up 8 times. And then during the last flare-up, I had some serious complications that would have resulted in me having some organs removed from my body
Right,
that
right.
no man wants to have removed.
Unfortunately, I have Crohn's runs in my family.
Yeah, so it got really, really bad. As a matter of fact, at UPMC, where they did just a great job with me, there were, the graduate assistants were coming in to take pictures of my body because we'd never seen this before. So it was, that's bad. That's not the kind of that's not the kind of media that you want.
No. But tell me this though, wasn't this the catalyst to basically your professional career?
Yeah, and it was, I'd gone through, those 8 flare-ups in 8 years when I did some part-time coaching. My college coach, Joe Carbone, was great about bringing me back to coach.
Right.
And the guys from Post 33, Matt Morrison, Coach Watt was still around, Billy Beatty, Craig Farr was at Catholic Central. I coached, part-time when I was able. Spent a year at West Liberty. But then when I got to that last flare-up in 96, I was a part-time coach at Waynesburg University with my old buddy Dave Wolkowski, Steubenville native, was a terrific college football coach. And Dave was, he was a football guy. He brought me down to help him out with the baseball. And we sat in our first meeting before the first game, and he said, "Okay, well, what am I going to do? You tell me." And I said, "Well, I'll coach the infielders, I'll coach the outfielders, I'll coach the hitters, I'll coach the base runners, I'll get the pitchers ready, I'll get the bullpen ready, and I'll coach the catchers." And he's like, that's pretty much everything. What do you want me to do? And I said, "Go get the lunches." So it was a great experience for me while I was really sick, and Dave was great.
So how many years did you manage at Waynesburg?
I was the assistant that first year, and then I was really, really sick. So in between the seasons, I had about 4 surgeries that altered my life, and for the better.
Okay.
Nothing that anybody wants to go through themselves, but it was an absolute necessity if I was ever going to live again.
Right.
So, Dave moves on about 2 or 3 weeks before the season started, and there's nobody there on campus. I've been teaching part-time at the university too. And there's nobody there on campus to take the head baseball job but me. So I was, very fortunate. Rudy Marisa was our athletic director, legendary. You would know Rudy from Western PA. Legendary basketball coach, gave me the opportunity. First year, we finished runner-up in the President's Athletic Conference. We also were we had the highest team batting average in the entire country.
Yeah.
So it was a really good year, and then we followed it up the second year with the President's Athletic Conference Championship. And then the job at Youngstown State comes up. And my college coach and Jim Tressel were really good friends from their days as assistants at Ohio State. So Jim was, relying on Joe to, say, "Hey, help me out. You're in the baseball world. Who do I have?" And Joe recommended me, and I went to Youngstown State and spent 9 years there. Was a total of 17 at the college level. And
well, Youngstown State, you're following you back then. The game's changed a tad.
Absolutely.
With NIL. Yeah. But your dad and I used to joke. You were the manager, but you were also the fundraiser and everything else.
Bus driver. Yeah.
Yeah, you did it all up there. And hey, you had some kids make it to the pros. And
yeah, we had a couple good years. We had a runner-up in the conference. We also won the league in 2004 and made the school's first ever trip to the NCAA tournament, so that was big. We had 3 guys that made the big leagues. We had 16 that were offered professional baseball contracts, so it was gratifying to see those guys being able to move on, and a lot of good kids. We led the entire Horizon League twice for a team grade point average. And all
and you weren't afraid. You got a couple kids from the Valley that played for you.
We had about 12, actually.
Which is a lot.
Yeah, that was a lot, and would have. Sometimes in some fleeting moments, I think about some of the kids that came after me that I would have recruited and went somewhere else. That I think we could have gotten, but it was a great ride. It was a lot of fun, and times change, and I moved on. I was 40 years old.
Right. Now let's finish this segment by telling us a little bit about your gig with Greg Brown, who's also a friend of mine.
Sure.
Just the nicest guy you'll ever meet.
Yeah,
and Phil Bork. Tell us a little bit about this.
Yeah,
this.
So in the middle of all that, I wrote my book called Healthier Than Normal.
You can plug that book.
Well, it's ancient. Yeah. It was published 20 years ago. Actually, this month. 20 years ago this month. So
people read stories.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So I did, I think, about 30 speaking engagements after the 2005 season, going into 2006. And by then, I just hit the wall.
Right.
Right. And I told our athletic director, it's time for me to go. I don't know where I'm going, but I'm 40 at this time. Yeah. I'm just doing. I want to be able to help people more, tell their story, do whatever, serve the community.
Mike's one of those older fathers. He's gonna be 90 when his kid graduates high school.
I'll still be throwing left-handed pizza.
Right.
But it's it is a little bit of a blow when your son asks, "Can mom throw the batting practice because she throws faster?" Because my wife was a really good athlete. So
that's funny.
Yeah, but so it was just time for a change at that time, and then I'd done the public speaking, and then I created some seminars later on for high school student athletes about how they can move on with their careers at the college level. Okay?
Right.
So I was doing that with Brightway Center, which is no longer in existence anymore.
That had something to do with Archie Griffin, if I remember.
That was Archie's brother, Daryl, was the director,
yeah.
and then Daryl decided to move on, and then COVID came, and we couldn't fund the program anymore, so I kind of put that on the shelf, and then the NIL stuff came around, and it's basically like, okay, here's the rules. There are none. Right. So, there was time for a change, and then I did a little speaking with in a couple different arenas. I've known Brownie since I was at YSU, and he spent a year or two, I think, at WKBN up there.
You know what? He
was
he's
a
Catholic, but I thought he had a Catholic Central.
Well, and Father Brown was his uncle. Actually, was in the rectory at St. Peter's. And I don't remember his role. I think he might have been principal.
I thought, because he spoke of that.
So
Brownie had another pirate twist. Yeah. Bob Walk's son married a gal from Catholic Central.
I didn't know that.
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know. I've seen Walkie a couple. He was on our flight.
Yeah, you have to bring that up.
I've seen him a few times. But
anyway, pitch your gig with Brownie.
So sure. So Brownie, and then I met Phil Bork through Paul Steigerwald, who I'd known for a long time, and Borky and I just our friendship evolved, and we did some things throughout the years together, and now we've created a little speakers bureau that we go into corporate settings, educational settings, and just talk to staffs about motivation, being a good teammate. What does it take to be successful? What is your why? Why do you do that? Where do you receive your gratification throughout your life about what makes your blood pump? And ultimately that's what we talk to people about.
Your information, if you want to contact Mike about this program, his information will be on WTRF.com. But my producer's saying that I got to kind of wrap this thing up. But it's always a pleasure to have you, and you still do a lot of high school gigs. And,
we're still doing. I'm supposed to say on another network, aren't
I? That's fine. Yeah.
And then there's my Saturday gig on another network.
Yeah. So those are all wheeling. Those are all wheeling people. They're good.
Yeah. So it's just fun to be at this stage. And coaching my 9-year-old son.
Oh my God! It cracks me up.
Well,
you got a 9-year-old, and my oldest is 37.
Yeah, well.
And his kids are almost your kids' age.
Hey, that's the beauty of life. It evolves at different phases. I don't think I was mature enough to be a father until I was 48 or 49.
I'll stay out of that comment.
No, that was something. You were an OU dad. You know all about Court Street. Court Street and I got along really, really well.
I'm trying to organize a WVU OU family trip.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I think that's.
We're going to see the Bobcats play in the Horseshoe the week before that.
Oh, that's cool.
So we've got a little mini reunion.
And that's so they got Ohio State, and then they come, and West Virginia comes there. Wow.
Bobcats aren't messing around, but the next year, the next week is my 40th high school reunion. So I won't want to miss
I
that.
got 45.
Yeah.
45 this year.
45?
45 this year.
Yeah, I was blessed with a lot of great high school
Oh, yeah.
buddies, and you
You
know
sure
them all.
did.
They're all around
Oh, yeah.
here. Great people.
Well, as I like to say, that's all for now. And you got to beat EM Bucs. Michael, thanks. my
Jim,
friend.
always a pleasure.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so
Yep.
much for having me. I appreciate it.